beloved CEO of Arrowhead Game Studios and Helldivers 2, Johan Pielstedt, is stepping down from his position as CEO and taking on another role within the company. And this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people because a lot of folks really like the guy. It's one of the first times that we've had a CEO that we genuinely believe has our interests in mind, and they've shown that for the most part. With that said, their new role is going to, well, be an interesting one to say the least, and it has a major impact on the future of Helldivers 2, so I want to take a minute to talk about that. The now former CEO of Arrowhead Game Studios tweeted out saying, "Hey everyone, big update. I've decided to hire Shams Yorhani as the new CEO of Arrowhead Game Studios. We go way back, and I wouldn't trust the business in any other hands than his, and he comes with an impressive resume and a love for games. But what about me and my involvement in Helldivers 2? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm taking the role of Chief Creative Officer, which means I will be spending more time with the team and 100% of my focus on the games and community." Now, I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of details, but Shams Yorhani was a key figure at Paradox Interactive. He was the Chief Business Development Officer over there until 2021. He had worked at the company for 12 years, and he was mostly responsible for managing the company's games portfolio, identifying new titles, and different developers for them to be able to work with. Games released from Paradox Interactive that are the most notable would be City Skylines and Stellaris, so the company was mostly focused in strategic games. Now, I think something like this is going to come as a surprise to a lot of people, but also not a surprise at the exact same time because of how much he cares about the game and the game's community. I know a lot of people have really liked the guy. He's definitely the face of the, CEO that we would want these companies to have, one that actually has our interests in mind, one that engages with us and talks to us and wants to know our wants and needs and the things that are paining us in some of these games. But more so, his step down is huge for the future of Helldivers 2. You have to keep in mind, when this game came out, before it came out, they were only targeting anywhere from like 10 to 40,000 concurrent players at launch. That's all they thought they were going to be serving. The game shot up to 450,000 concurrent players just on Steam within the first 2 weeks. That's absurd. And chances are what ended up happening as a result of that, it wasn't just the server issues. It was all of the logistical issues of them balancing the game, managing the community, managing the content that they planned on putting into the game, managing the narrative, everything became an issue at that point because you're just not built for that kind of scale, and you can't scale up fast enough and just hire on people and immediately train them to be able to handle a lot of those issues in the first place. And I'm not being forgiving of many of the issues that Helldivers 2 is faced up until this point, but for them to be able to do what they need to do to get the game into a healthy place and give it a long-lasting future, this is something that was necessary, and it's a smart choice by him because him having a direct role, just paying attention to the team, the development of the game, and the ongoing health of the game and its community is huge. It's going to make a massive difference, and you can see it in the comments of the people that responded to his tweet. Now, looking at some of the replies to Johan Pielstedt's tweet, you see one user saying, "When you lower your position to be more involved in your game, honestly, that speaks volumes." Pielstedt responds, "Thanks. Games before CEOs? ? Another user said, "You've been an amazing CEO so far. He has big shoes to fill, but if you chose him, then it must be that he has what it takes." Pielstedt responds, "Thank you. Yes, he is way more organized than me. Now I get to focus on games." Another user responds, "Does this mean that weapon rebalancing will get the attention it deserves with you taking a more involved role?" Pielstedt responds, "Yes. That's the plan." Another user says, "This is fantastic news. Always good to free up creative people and let someone else handle the business bits." Pielstedt responds, "Yep, I think it's going to be amazing." Another user asks, "Will you still be active among the community?" Pielstedt responds, "Even more so." Another good question that was posted asks, "As CCO, what is your direction in receiving and reviewing player feedback?" Pielstedt responds, "Very good question. First thing we got to do is ensure we get more devs time playing the game. It's hard to make the right decisions if the eyes aren't on the road. Secondly, I want to ensure that we actively look at the sentiment and create a holistic view of why feedback is given. And my working theory is that TTK is too high." And this is something that's beyond necessary for the game. There's two weak links that the game has at the moment, which is that players can only do something and play something for so long before they start getting bored of it, and they just move on to play other games. And sometimes it's not even getting bored. It's just that new games come out. We go to play something else. And if there's nothing really interesting happening with the game that we left, then we're not likely to go immediately right back to it. We might go to back into our backlog or something like that, or something else new then pops up and we just never get around to going back to the game. And we've noticed that Helldivers 2 has gradually, over time, lost players. And a lot of that has to do with the Sony issue that happened a while back. That upset a lot of players, a lot of negative feedback, and it just kind of ruined the whole vibe around the game. But then also at the exact same time, they have had some massive balancing issues that at first were bad and then were a little bit better and then just got worse and progressively worse and then worse. And ever since then, the game just started to feel bad to play. And you can't have a game that's a PvE-focused horde shooter feel bad to play. And you need the players to be able to fulfill a power fantasy, but at the same time, you want to be able to rein them in because you need the game to feel chaotic and crazy. You need to feel like it actually has cost or there's some type of consequences for your actions if you're not playing the game as you should be. And that's something that really needs a focused perspective to be able to fix those core issues, as well as start to introduce new content. And Helldivers 2 is a game that it really needs a shot in the arm, especially with a lot of the games that are going to be coming out over the summer, and definitely a few of the games that are coming out this fall. You're going to need something that's really going to entice players to come back to play your game. And the only way you're going to get that is if you have somebody like Johan Pielstedt that cares as much about this game and as much as he does about the community to come back and do something about those things. And right now, it's kind of like he said, it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of people that are at the helm right now because of just how busy he's probably had to be since the release of Helldivers 2. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't have a whole lot of perspective on because when you have a game that blows up in that kind of popularity, his side of the business gets very busy. Because we're not only talking about trying to hire more people or manage the team, but it's also all the things that he has to do with Sony and any of the regional locks and all of these other different things that really eat up a lot of time for him and don't allow him to be able to focus on the team, which makes them run wild, which means his creative vision for what Helldivers 2 is supposed to be isn't probably being met right now. And that's largely the reason why he's stepping down. It's because he has said on multiple occasions that he wants Helldivers 2 to be the best live service game ever made. And the only way that he can make that happen is if he steps into a role that doesn't have him worrying about all of these outside distractions, all of these business roles and the money and things like that. And it's just working on the game, working with his team, and making sure that he's delivering a game that we all want to play. And for me, this speaks volumes about his character, about the character of Arrowhead Studios. And while the studio has definitely had a lot of issues, especially with their community managers and things like that, this is what fixes that. This is the exact thing that they need to be able to make sure that this game has a long-lasting and a fruitful future at that. And personally, I'm looking forward to it. I wasn't really expecting to make a video this early in the morning. I have my breakfast still sitting in the other room, so I'm going to end the video right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below on what you think the future of the game is going to be. Outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Catch me live on Twitch, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Family, 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 family.